not least, we have our last speaker of the day. And it's Preetham Kaukuntla, and he's a staff data scientist at Glassdoor, and he's going to be talking about using LLM to improve email marketing, which I'm really interested in this myself. So please take it away.
Yep, thank you. It's a hard act to follow after all the distinguished presentations that we've seen today. My name is Preetham. I'm actually a manager of data science at Glassdoor, which is now part of Indeed after recent acquisition. And my topic is slightly different today. I'm going to show one use case of how we've been using LLM to increase our conversion using emails as a platform. Now, is anyone from marketing here? So email is the most effective form of marketing, mostly because of how the cost of sending an email is very low compared to push notifications. Now, you can send push notifications to users on a desktop. Although recently we've been seeing, due to AI, a lot of times people end up searching for something instead of going to a website that hosts the content. You end up at an AI overview page. As a result, what's happening is the number of any website that is dependent on users visiting their website to drive traffic and monetization of that traffic has been suffering, including Reddit. I think Stack Overflow lost 75% of their customers after LLMs. So we've faced a similar challenge at Glassdoor. So how we went about solving it is just expand, since our top of the funnel of users coming from SEO has been dropping, it became very important for us that we expand the existing user base, increase engagement, and get them to come back more often. That way we keep our retention very high. Okay, so how did we use LLM? So this topic is about how we use LLM, specifically to improve conversion rates on our emails through personalization. Now, the challenges with emails is like now you provide your email anywhere, you receive so many emails. If you're like me, unless the subject line is very catchy, you delete it right away. Don't even bother to open it. Now, just reverse engineering it. Like if the subject line was catchy, you might be interested in opening it now. My job is to get users to open our emails. My job is not to get them to click through. That's someone else's job. I don't like to step my foot on their job. So basically, my goal was to drive higher open rates. So with so many emails, inboxes getting cluttered. So there is a saying in email marketing world, Google giveth, Google taketh. So basically, Google and Apple in their mail apps have built something called mail privacy protection, which is actually reading through all your emails, but it appears like even though you've not opened the email, Google and Apple have opened and read through your email for mail privacy protection. At least that's what Tim Cook says. So if they find any content that probably violates their conditions of mail privacy protection, they either send it to spam, which is a good thing, or they send it to promotions tab. Now, the value of an email going to a user's primary folder versus going into promotions folder is 4x. So users are more likely to open an email 4 times higher rate compared to when it goes into a user's promotions tab. So as a result, personalization is one way that has traditionally shown if you personalize your email, there's a higher chance of conversion. So I'm going to try to get through this a little quicker. Now, this is a personalization framework that we came up with. Basically, we trained our models using a lot of user data, behavioral data, engagement rates, their past history of open rates, and how they've been engaging with their recent emails. And then we used NLP models to basically identify subject and tone of what the subject line should be. So the key takeaway here is subject lines are paramount to a user clicking through on an email. And then once we are able to identify the tone and subject of a particular subject line, we run it through what we use is ChatGPT-2. The reason why we use GPT-2, I know it's been in the past, is because it's cheaper and it does a really good job of what we are trying to accomplish. We could go for a GPT-5. There's probably like 10% improvement, but the cost doesn't justify the needs there. So, and the next part is, it's also important when you receive the email. So there's users that like to receive the email during work. Some users like to receive their email late in the night, and some users like to receive the email early in the morning. So that what time you receive the email and what is the tone of the email basically defines how successful your email is going to be. So for any architecture geeks, I can just quickly walk through the architecture. So we have user data that we feed into our AI models, which is a BERT is a transformer coded model, machine learning model, which scores sentiment and tone of a sentence or a post. And then it generates, and once it creates this score, we send that score and all that context into ChatGPT-2, which identifies 3 or 4 subject lines that are ideal to be sent on that email. Now, parallelly, again, as I mentioned, we look at a user's engagement history. So when was the last time a user was active? When was the last time a user actually clicked through on an email? How likely is a user? Then we create a probability model where we identify using 2 models, which is LSTM as well as Prophet. And I'll go into more detail about these ones. Like, trust me, it's not boring. LSTM model basically helps identify or remember recent important engagement history. So in our case, like, it only remembers context like when was the user last active and when was the user last opening those emails. And it doesn't remember anything else. Prophet adds more like globalization trends. So if a user is new, we don't know much about them, then Prophet helps identify and apply global rules that we were identifying. So kind of helps bridge the gap of data unavailability. So there's 2 parallel pipelines going on. The first one identifies subject lines, and the second one identifies the time at which that email needs to be sent. So these models work in tandem, and then we actually have we send it through a contextual bandit optimizer. So basically, if the model returns more than 2 subject lines for an email, which one do we use? So we send it through a contextual bandit experiment. So it identifies real time which subject line is more likely being clicked on while the experiment is live, and then adjust traffic more towards that subject line in real time so that there is no loss of opportunity there. And then we identify the time, deliver the email that sees a higher engagement and retention. Quickly going into the personalization techniques, I'm actually going to skip through this one. It's kind of repetitive. Okay, so the first problem that we try to solve is how do we identify the right subject line to send to a particular user. So this is where the LLM comes in. So we use BERT model, which is a transformer-based model that identifies tone subject of a particular subject line, or it provides a score of probability that if we send this subject line, it's very likely that the user is going to open it 7 out of 10 times. But the problem there is subject lines need to be small and subject lines need to be sharp. This is where we decided we're going to try experimenting with GPT-2. So GPT-2 takes a list of subject lines generated through BERT and result in it. They provide 2 or 3 recommendations on what the subject line should be for that particular day or for that particular user. These tend to be more catchy and have a tone of urgency, or hey, urgent, here's a job that you wanna, it's going fast, like a job was recently posted. So things like that help us with identifying better subject lines, add some emojis and stuff like that. So depending on different email campaigns. Email campaigns are not always all created equal, so you'd have to adjust it based on the audience. So this helps us generate a subject line to send to a user. And then we have to identify what's the best time to send that particular email. That now that we have the content, we have the subject line, what's the best time to send it? Again, as I mentioned earlier, long short-term model is a statistical or a machine learning algorithm that only remembers important context when you define it. So it's going to take in all the user past engagement and email open data, and only tries to remember important aspects like email opens, as well as past time frames as to when the user was recently active. Now, and then again, as I mentioned, Profit is another model that bridges the gap of data unavailability by just applying global trends if the past engagement data isn't available. And then Glassdoor is a very global website. We have 70 million users monthly all over the world. So the challenge there is different users behave differently across different time zones. We've modeled everything based off of UTC, but it's a lot more challenging to actually solve this for a geo-based kind of scenario. So what we've seen through this, we've implemented both these models separately. So I'll just go back to the previous one. Oops. Yeah, sorry, I think I messed up. We implemented the send time prediction model, so without adding the subject, making changes to the subject line, from the baseline, we saw a 20% increase in open rates just because we were sending the emails at the right time. Now, with the improved subject, and then we measured the improvement from adding the right subject line, and we saw there was a 17% improvement in open rate. Then we decided, how can we combine these two? Now, we've attempted it a couple of times, and it's been very challenging. Something might come out fairly soon on our side, but at what time you send the email, should that influence the tone? So that is a problem that we're trying to solve. But for now, again, as I said, we built these two models independently. They independently coexist, but they together have a synergistic effect. Again, just reading through the results, like subject line implementation using ChatGPT increased our open rates by 17%. Send time optimization models improved our open rates by 22%. Both were tested independently, both were deployed independently, but together we saw a lift of over 30% just in open rates. Across most of our product emails, not necessarily marketing emails, but the same can be true for marketing emails as well. Our marketing function separates functions. It exists differently outside of the product, and I mainly support our product emails, which is bothering you, sending so many emails about, hey, this is a job that you want to apply, but there's already 1,000 people applied for this job. But hey, that's what employers pay us to do. So, okay, some of the challenges that we've encountered while implementing this. Number one, it takes a lot of data to get through. We send over 1 billion emails every year. So that's a lot of emails. Each email can be opened multiple times, once by the user. User can open the same email multiple times. Apple and Gmail definitely opens your email at least once. So you have that. So training this is a big problem. It's a lot of constraint on your resources. Subject lines can sometimes take your details and take it a little too far, which is why we've limited it to ChatGPT 2. We saw GPT 4 was trying to gather more information around the user, although it doesn't have access to it. It was trying, it, which is why like GPT-2 is great for us. Another challenge I discussed, designing a universal problem for designing one centralized solution for every user everywhere in the world. For example, you try to send an email to someone in Spain during their siesta, they're not going to check their email. So in the US, it works great during the lunchtime. So there's like those challenges. And then, as I mentioned, Apple and Google's mail protection policies, they just scan through all of your emails. They decide where it needs to go. If it's an email that they've seen 100 times with the same subject line and similar content, and you haven't clicked on it, at some point they're going to put it in spam. We, as people send, depending on emails to bringing users back, can't afford that. So the takeaway here is keep changing your subject line every now and then. Cool. Some of the things that we want to solve for in the future, we've actually are already on our way to solving some of these. Real-time personalization engines. So right now it's still very pipeline driven. Your DAGs have to get finished for the night before, and then you run it through like a scheduler. Scheduler can only schedule so many emails. We send 35 million emails per day, I think. That's a lot of emails to send. Scheduler can't schedule all of those at once, so everything is divided into batches. So we want to improve that. In Glassdoors, and Indeed has a parent company in Japan. It's a large recruiting company that owns them, and they actually created an LLM on their own, which basically is specifically focused on HR needs as well as job seekers. So we are planning on trying to experimenting with that LLM, which is very specifically focused on just that one area of what job seeker needs, what career advice someone needs, and just try to bring down the costs. And then we've expanded this particular model from email to push notification as well, seeing similar increases, but the problem is you're going to send the same email and you're going to send the same push notification. It can be repetitive, but you don't want to send two different two contents that are different, that are same but with different taglines. So that's a challenge. Again, and then you always have this problem of ethics. How personal do you want to get? How the tone needs to be professional, and things like that. So, any questions? Yes.
We built a bulk email tool of similar kind, but the major challenge we faced is the freshness of email addresses is the troubling factor. So there are a lot of percentage of emails that are no more valid. So for example, if you're using Amazon SES, which is what we chose, it used to block us completely. You have to validate every email ID before you send it because that email sender protocol will block it. So how are you even managing the freshness of it?
Sure. So a lot of these emails that we send are important because we send it every day. On the engineering side or on the deliverability side, I think we use SendGrid.
Okay. You are using a third party.
Yeah. We have to use SendGrid because of the volume that we send, and they do a really good job of identifying domains that are banned, of identifying email addresses that are no longer active, and also identifying email addresses real time that have unsubscribed, so that you cannot send an email to someone who just recently unsubscribed. So yes.
So I'll have to connect with you offline.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
In my personal experience for platforms like Glassdoor and Indeed, I use it for their email that I never check. And I know that's true of many people who interact with platforms like that. How are you guys solving for that issue and trying to
So, interesting question. So we actually prioritize users signing up for emails from their work. We have specifically work-related campaigns. There is something called, so Glassdoor has acquired a company called Fishbowl. I don't know how many of you are aware. It's like a competitor for Blind. It's like kind of like career Reddit. So there we reward our customers, especially with like domains that we know are not, and SendGrid also provides a score that someone is using a burner account versus not. So I'd have to depend, at the moment we depend on what SendGrid is saying. And so far I think it hasn't been a problem. We do understand this, and you also have to think about, for example, you're using Indeed for your career needs, which is basically going there and applying. We know you're only going to be active on Indeed in your job application journey, which typically our research suggests it's around 21 days. So if we see you being active for around 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and not active anymore, we don't send you emails anyways, so, unless you sign up for it. Any other questions? Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Well, thank you so much, and this is a wrap for today's event. Thank you so much for being here today. I wanted to, first of all, thank Oracle for hosting us, for making this possible again. Thank our community partners, because we wouldn't be able to do this without them. And if you guys want to apply to speak, please do so. We have, as I told you, we're taking applications all year round. So, and then we're also going to send out a survey after this. So if you guys could take a couple minutes and give us some feedback, because we do this for you, and we want to make this better, every year. So, and we are a nonprofit, so this is all just for the community, for you guys. All right, well, thank you so much, and we'll see you guys at the next event.